Welcome to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, the daily talk show with the voice of Penn State football and men's basketball. You never know what special guest may stop on by any given day. Now here's the man of the hour, Mr. Steve Jones.
Yo. Well, I think it's safe to say the whole doing no trades thing for our draft probably wasn't the best idea because it got blown up in 10 minutes.
You can't guess that stuff.
No, we couldn't guess the Jags.
Guess that stuff. What you do is you kind of take a look at like how many first rounders did we get right in terms of like not matching up the team, but we're drafted in the first round.
Yes.
Right? And it's a high number.
It was a very high number.
Right.
There's only a few players we didn't have. I don't think either of us had Tyleik Williams going in the first round, but outside of that, we had everybody. Him and Emeka Buka were the two we didn't have.
I don't think we had James Pierce going.
I had James Pierce in my draft going, but neither of us had
I'll tell you
Buka.
right now, the Falcons, I don't get it.
So,
okay, I want to start with everybody understand this. James Pierce, a red box. Okay.
What does a red box mean for those like myself?
So many off the field issues that it keeps teams from drafting them.
Yeah.
And so they refer to it in the league as a red box. And Pierce has tremendous talent, but he also has the red box. And they traded up 20 spots to get him. He was not going to be picked in the first round because too many teams red boxed him, right? And because of that, they could have picked him in the second round. So I don't quite get what the strategy was to jump up and do that when they already got a defensive end early and they got a really, really good one.
So let's start there. Let's start with the trades that happened. We'll start with the trades and then we'll get into the rest of the draft. So we'll work backwards. We'll start with the Falcons one. So for me, it wasn't even just the pick. It was the just amount of assets they gave up for it. So they traded picks 46, 242, and a first next year.
Yeah, I don't get it.
To get James Pierce Jr. They're betting that pick is going to be 32 is what they're hoping it is.
But again,
it's going to be like 15 again.
But again, you did it to get a red box guy. It's not like what Jacksonville did to get Travis Hunter. Travis Hunter, okay? Let's dispel a couple of things about Travis Hunter. What's the image of Travis Hunter off the field?
Nothing bad. He's just him.
Guess what he is? Okay? Remember how we talked about Tyler Warren? Tyler Warren has 2 degrees from Penn State. 2 degrees. We've talked about how smart do you have to be to play 9 different spots in the field. Travis Hunter is a 4.0 at Colorado. He is a 4.0. And he is getting his degree in 2 weeks. How smart do you have to be to play both defense and offense, multiple positions, multiple ways of playing? Jacksonville I give them all the credit in the world. They jumped up, took care of 2 needs. They did it with a highly intelligent, enthusiastic guy, right, that the people in their city are going to love. And he's a great athlete. He's, by all accounts, a great character guy and a 4.0 guy. Right? Yeah. Beyond being a great athlete, he threw himself into being a terrific student.
Yeah.
And takes pride in that. Genty was a big-time pick.
Well, we'll get to
Raiders.
We'll get to Genty and the rest of the draftees. I want to start with trades first. We'll do all the trades, get those out of the way first. So Falcons did make this trade with the Rams. The Rams get picks 46, 242, and a first-rounder next year, which for them means they have 2 firsts going into next season, with presumably no more Matthew Stafford for them. So they now have 2 shots at a quarterback. And then the Falcons get...
Or they can take those 2 first-rounders
and turn them into...
They can move into the top 5
exactly.
and get the quarterback.
It gives them options for next year.
Right.
While in this case, the Falcons get pick 26 and pick 101. So that trade happens later in the first round. The pick that happened after that, which we'll go to next, the one that was a pure swap between the Chiefs and Eagles. The Eagles had to chuck in pick 164 to move up with the Chiefs swap slots. The Eagles then selected Jihad Campbell from Alabama. They took him with the 31st overall pick.
Really good player.
Really good player. If it weren't for his injuries, he would have been higher in this draft. It was one of those, they apparently were looking to call up to 22 to go and get him. They just couldn't move up. None of the 20s wanted to swap out, and they had to give up even less than they thought they would to go and get the guy they wanted. So win for Howie Roseman, another defensive stud. He said yesterday he can play inside linebacker, edge rusher, anything.
No, that'll help him. No doubt.
It'll help them. The pick before the Falcons, the big one in terms of the quarterbacks we thought would happen at some point. The Giants trade back in after selecting Abdul Carter 3rd overall. They trade with the Texans to get picks number 25. They trade up 34, 99, and a 3rd rounder next year to go and get Jackson Dart from Ole Miss.
This is a big time move by the Giants because what they did was they took a page out of the Houston Texans book when they took C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson. They already got the stud defensive edge rusher in Abdul Carter, who is going to be an absolutely great player for the Giants. To go with Burns, to go with Thibodeau, they extended him. They took his 5th-year option, right? To go with Dexter Lawrence. The Giants feel like, hey, look, okay, let's see what we do on offense, but let's kind of get the defense and keep the scores down, and that's what they did. Then they went out and they got Dart. I've been talking about Dart now for 2 months on the show, that I thought he was the number 2 quarterback in the draft. Dart is a guy, first of all, he doesn't have to start right away, right? You've got Russell Wilson there. You're okay, all right? Now, you could be in the same situation, for example, that Kurt Warner was in, like Russell Wilson, with the Giants. Kurt Warner was the Giants' starting quarterback, then midway through Eli Manning became the starter, and then, of course, carved out a 2 Super Bowl win career, and is at least on the Hall of Fame ballot. Dart is a guy that is look, everybody's going to talk about the Shedeur Sanders thing, so let's just compare the two. Okay. Toughness, I would give. They're both close to tough, but Sanders operated behind such a bad offensive line. Like in toughness, I got to give him the check mark only because he got beat up a lot. Short range passes, no question, it's Sanders. Everything else,
Dart
is Dart. Dart's a better runner. Okay, Dart is better at the medium to deep throws. Like Dart sees the field well. The one part about Dart that will come into question is how much of a system quarterback was he at Ole Miss in terms of the freedom to deviate from what Lane Kiffin wanted. I've never seen Sanders play in person. Dart, I have. And one thing that struck me about Dart was the variety of throws he made in the Peach Bowl and the accuracy of them, and a couple of them where the play is so well covered and he dropped it in the right spot.
He had one location.
I thought for the Giants, at some point in the 5 years that he's guaranteed to be with them, there's no question he'll end up being the starter, and I think he's going to be the guy they're looking for that will make Neighbors better, right? And among other things. But and as for having an offensive line, he can make plays moving. He just doesn't like to have a guy in his face, but that makes him an average quarterback when that happens.
The best thing for him is the Giants announced it yesterday. The first question Daboll answered after they drafted Dart was, Russell Wilson is our starting quarterback. So they're going to put him onto the bench, similar to what we saw with the Packers and Jordan Love, not to the same extent. Like they had Rodgers, they've got Russ.
Kurt Warner was the starter when Eli Manning was drafted by the Chargers, and then they did that swap with Rivers. All right, Eli Manning was not the starter on day one.
No,
Kurt Warner was.
And so now you're sitting here. Jackson Dart is going to be behind Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston, 2 guys with tons of experience. Like a heck of a place to sit and learn if you're him, where all of a sudden, let's say Russ goes down injured, he doesn't have to play immediately. They can keep him on ice longer because they have Jameis. So he's in a prime position for him. It's going to help Neighbors going forward. It'll give him more picks for this coming year. And they didn't give up too much, I don't think. Giving up 34, 99, and a 3rd rounder next year. They gave up, I think, less than the Falcons gave up.
Let me put it this way. Here was the Giants' fear. Why did they do it? The thought process probably was, okay, Cleveland's got the pick before us. What if they take Dart? They're not sitting there worried about Shedeur Sanders. No offense. Again,
No.
he's like the big story.
They clearly
of whatever,
wanted Dart.
right? But they didn't want Cleveland to take Dart, and they did not want Cleveland to trade into the round to get Dart. That's why they went at 25. They didn't wait till later in the round. They waited. There's 7 picks left. Hey, we can't have Cleveland trade in and take Dart.
Yeah.
Right? That doesn't mean Cleveland wanted Dart. You have to play the guessing game. I think the Giants guessed right.
The Giants guessed right. They nailed it. They get their quarterback who they want for the future, and they don't shell out billions of resources. But now going to the draft itself, Tennessee Titans took Cam Ward. We all knew that was going to happen, so we'll kind of blast past that one for a minute because we knew it was coming.
There's no excitement in Tennessee over this.
None.
Their draft party, I guess, was like a flat line, and part of it is they are not enamored with the ownership. When you've had Derrick Henry and he's no longer with you, when you have A.J. Brown and he's no longer with you, when you have Mike Vrabel, he's no longer with you, you're losing a lot of collateral as to how you're doing this. And now you have to really start over again. Ward's a good player. I think Ward probably would have been the 6th or 7th quarterback if he'd come out last year. He increased himself to the number 1 overall pick by the move he made to Miami, and credit to him for doing that.
Yeah. Then 2nd overall, we already mentioned Jaguars, Travis Hunter. James Gladstone, the new GM, came in and basically said, and I quote, as another Bulldog makes his way in here to the studio, well, hello there, Ms. Luna Bell. James Gladstone said, because he came from the Rams front office, he was talking to the media afterwards, and he said, hey, fans, get ready, gear up, because you're going to learn what it's like to say blank them picks. He was like, welcome to how this works. Is why we wanted him. We thought he's the best person for our future. As you mentioned, he's 2 birds with 1 stone. Blank them picks is what James Gladstone said. And he's 30-something years old. He was like, why not?
But he did the right thing.
He did the right thing. I love it. I love it.
Okay. He took what appears to be a high character guy. He takes a 4.0 guy that's going to get his degree in 2 weeks. He took a phenomenal athlete, and they moved around some picks to take a guy that plays 2 positions.
Yeah.
And plays 2 positions at a high level.
And you know what's even better for them?
Smart.
They are putting him in a position where he is not going to be required to be the single best receiver on the team, which is, I think, a positive that they have Brian Thomas Jr. He's already a really good receiver. You're not pushing him as like Travis Hunter, you got to be number 1 here and number 1 there. They're no longer requiring him to be the best player in each spot. They're not going to say you're our number 1 corner, our number 1 receiver. He's not going to have to be going against best on best every 10 seconds of the game, which is a big thing.
Yeah.
So he goes 2nd overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Of course, we mentioned Carter from here in Penn State,
but
going
again,
to the Giants.
Let's give the Giants credit here. They looked around and said, who is the best player?
Yep.
They picked Carter. They did not sit there and go, well, we need a quarterback here, and like overthink it. The Giants said, no. No, they took the best player. Right? I mean, let's give Joe Shane and Brian Dable a lot of credit here. I think they played the draft out as well as a team that has really struggled that you could ask them to play out, just like Jacksonville did with Hunter.
They did. The Patriots then come in with the 4th pick, which everyone expected. Will Campbell went to them. We all knew that was going to happen. They wanted to protect Drake May, get him the best tackle in the draft, or the guy who's ranked highest. Go get him. 5th overall, the Browns with their traded pick took Mason Graham. This was the first real surprise because he did end up going 5th overall. People thought he can go anywhere from...
I thought he was a top 10 guy.
I think he was a top 10 guy.
I thought he was a top 10 guy.
Yeah.
Because I think Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant... What did I say about Grant? I told you Grant was going to get picked.
I know. We'll discuss him in a little bit.
Because I think they're both really, really good. Look, I get what Cleveland's doing here. Carter's off the board. When they made the trade, they knew Carter was going to be off the board. When they made the trade, they knew Carter was off the board. Okay? So they said, okay, who's the next best player we can put out there to complement Myles Garrett? And they did it.
They went through the middle with Mason Graham. And then the Raiders said, yeah, we want our running back. We want Ashton Genty. They went and took him. Again, He's a home run talent. So
Genty is a great pick. Genty could have left Boise State for money from other places, and like Quinyon Mitchell at Toledo did not.
Nope.
I mean, that to me, there's certain things that I still I value, and he has a lot of those items I value, including the loyalty part. It's like, don't worry, I'll get something, but I'm not going to sit there and start hunting cash. I mean, I've got that.
And if you are Genty, you're going in.
Now, it's not like Golden, for example, in Texas.
Which we'll get to him.
Their
we'll get
family situation's so bad.
Yeah.
I mean, so I get it.
So Genty goes to the Raiders, and if you're him, he's not in a position where he's not going to be the starter. He is the number one guy on this team. You've got Raheem Mostert after him, who's always injured, and then Sincere McCormick, Samir White. He is number one.
If you take the yards he gained after contact last season, he would have been fourth in the nation in rushing.
Yeah. He's incredible. He's a dominant figure. So he is now their running back of the future. They have their tight end of the future already in Brock Bowers.
Right. I mean, I watched 4 Boise State tapes, and then I saw him live.
Yeah.
Look, Penn State completely contained him in that game.
Yeah.
But every single time he touched the ball, like, okay.
He broke like 2 tackles, but he gets tackled for a 1-yard gain.
Okay.
It's like, woof. But Genty.
And he can catch the ball based on what he did in his junior year.
Yes. So they now have Ashton Genty at running back and Brock Bowers at tight end. They're building themselves an offense slowly but surely. It's a heck of a 2 picks back-to-back for them, Bowers and then Genty. And then after Genty goes, Armin Membu goes to the Jets.
But we said that was going to happen.
Right tackle, left tackle.
Olu left, Membu right. That worked out.
Building out an offensive line.
Bryce Young needed. Okay, quarterbacks need help.
Yes.
I mean, we can talk about he's a franchise quarterback. You can't go out there and do it by yourself. Football is the ultimate team game.
Yes.
Okay? Which we've referenced with Sanders. What was Sanders' biggest problem in Colorado? His offensive line was a sieve.
Yeah.
Okay? Well, you can't be that efficient when you're behind that. And Bryce Young needed more help. Getting McMillan gives him now another guy to throw to and improves him as a quarterback.
He now has Teteroa McMillan along with Adam Thielen and Xavier Legette as his top 3 targets. It's a pretty good 3. Yep. That's a pretty strong 3. You feel good about it. And then after McMillan goes, the Saints come up, take Kelvin Banks Jr. This was the start of the tackles. Like the tackles had been going, the interior.
The only 2 games this season where Banks did not play well were the 2 Georgia games. I thought watching the game in Austin on TV that night, I was like, ooh, because Walker tore him apart.
Yeah.
And I was like, geez, okay, he's a first-round pick. I remember thinking that. But as the season goes along, you're like, okay, good. And then they played Georgia again. I think it's just a matchup, but I think that the Saints end up with a real winner on the offensive line. I think it was a really good pick for them. Did not reach for a quarterback.
No, didn't reach for a quarterback, and this was the story of the draft. It was the trenches is what won. It was defense and offensive trenches were the 2 big pieces of this draft. You're sitting here through 9 picks. You've already seen Abdul Carter go, Will Campbell, Mason Graham, Armin Membu, and then Kelvin Banks. 5 of the first 9 picks are all in the trenches. So Kelvin Banks, as a Saints fan, he's not the most inspiring pick, but he's the right pick. That's what I care about most, is getting the guy, because there were a lot of fans saying we need a quarterback. No, do not reach and get a quarterback. As I said yesterday here on this show, get the best player available. And for them, it was Kelvin Banks Jr., and I'm totally cool with that. Coming in 10th, we knew the Bears would go tight end. We thought Tyler Warren. They instead go Colston Loveland. They partner him up with Cole Kmet at the tight end position for the Bears. This one was the first intriguing pick of the draft. Apparently, per reporting from Peter Schrager and multiple others, there was a lot of players and teams trying to move up to go get Loveland at some point in the teens, but as soon as the Bears took him, all of a sudden calling and trades stopped. That's why we didn't see anything for a while, because he was the guy teams wanted to get. The Bears got him at 10th overall. You don't look too enthused, Steve Jones.
I don't. Look. Yeah, you're always talking about guys that, like, I see. And first of all, the offense for Michigan a year ago was dreadful.
Yes.
Okay. And Loveland spent a good chunk of the season hurt. The game in Beaver Stadium 2 years ago, what did he do in the game?
Yeah.
What did he do?
I don't. Nothing.
That's because nobody remembers him being in the game. Okay? I mean, and I'm serious about this. He was their number one receiver last year, receiving option. When they won the national title, he was a good player, really good player. But there's no doubt in my mind that the better tight end went to Indianapolis.
And we'll get to him.
The better player went to Indianapolis. Am I surprised the Bears did this? No, because I know who runs the team.
Yes.
I'll leave it at that. I know who runs the team.
And we'll get to the other tight end.
I know. They were calling up to find out. I'm like, fine, I don't care. Take a warrant. You can talk to somebody else. Who cares?
And we will get to the other option at tight end in a minute. When it comes to other players in this draft, Mykel Williams goes to Jason Lord's 49ers. This is the player he wanted for them. They got him 6'5", 260 edge rusher from Georgia.
That was a good player.
Good player. Then coming in 12th, Alabama's guard Tyler Booker goes to the Dallas Cowboys.
All right, so the Cowboys got themselves back on track years ago when they started drafting offensive linemen. All right. And that is where they feel that they have to be better, is in the interior part of the offensive line. They need to protect Dak Prescott. They need to get something out of the running game, which they really haven't had a lot of.
Zach Martin just announced retirement. Right. Take that retirement and swing that into Tyler Booker.
So you have to do that at this point, so that's what they did.
They take him. Then 13th, the other Michigan defensive tackle you mentioned, Kenneth Grant, goes to the Miami Dolphins.
Again, Grant to go with, remember, they picked Chop Robinson last year, so they go edge rusher in round one last year. They go interior this year. They're building themselves, and they already have. I think Phillips is already with them as a really good player.
Phillips is already there as well, so they're building a defensive line.
A defensive line that's going to be really, really good.
They are.
Remember, Mike McDaniel's an offensive-minded head coach. They can take care of that part. They've got that. They've got Hill. They've got Waddle. They've got Tua.
So they build that. Speaking of offense, pick 14, the Colts were the happiest people in the draft because Tyler Warren, the player they wanted most, comes to them at 14.
Right, and that works out great for them. For Tyler Warren, he will be to their franchise what Dallas Clark was.
And the rumor is 44 is on the table for him.
Yes.
So,
but he will be to Indianapolis what Dallas Clark was to them. But the difference between Dallas Clark and Tyler Warren is he's not going to have Peyton Manning throwing to him. It's going to be either Anthony Richardson or Daniel Jones. Warren, the difference between Warren and Loveland is this. Loveland is a traditional tight end, right? Blocks, runs routes, right? Great hands, right? The whole thing. Warren brings a versatility Loveland doesn't have. Warren has the ability, I think because he has such great football sense, to get himself into spots and be open. See, that's the Dallas Clark part of it. And that's the part that the Colts will really appreciate because he can block. We already know that. But Warren is, like we said, he wouldn't fall past the Colts, and he did not.
And he did not, and the Colts were pretty happy.
And look, and Loveland's a really good pick.
Yeah.
Okay? If the Colts had ended up Loveland, they would have had a really good tight end. Because Warren's just a better player.
Yeah.
Right? And he's a better, more instinctive player than Loveland, and he's a better athlete.
And so they get Tyler Warren at 14. 15, the Falcons' first edge rusher. They get linebacker, edge rusher, Jalen Walker from Georgia.
See, now that's a major league pick by Atlanta.
Yes.
Okay? That's 180 of what they did in the 20s. That's 180. This guy has everything that you want. I think the games I watched him play, every time I turned around, he was making plays. And he's just, I think, a terrific pick by Atlanta.
He was a terrific pick by Atlanta. They're not sitting here.
I'm not going to say that about their second pick. Again, like I said, certain guys get red boxed because they have so many off the field issues. Phillips was red boxed.
Yeah. So they take him 15th overall. Jalen Walker, 16th, again, going back to the defensive interior. Walter Nolan from Ole Miss goes to the Cardinals.
Good player. I mean, good player. He's disruptive in the middle, physically strong, good takeoff, plays the run really well. So Nolan's a good player.
And if you're Nolan, he now gets to learn from the recently re-added Calais Campbell, which is about as good of a human being as you can learn from.
Yes.
One of the best vets. He's considered one of the best people in the NFL, so he gets to learn from a legend.
He's a Walter Payton guy.
Yeah.
So.
You get to learn from him. Shamar Stewart then goes to the Cincinnati Bengals. They went edge, as we thought they might.
Yeah.
They said, we need to address defense at some point.
But again, this guy is more about traits than production. You watch his production, it's not that great, right? But when you look at him, like going, well, okay, look at him. He's twitchy. He can run. He can do this. He can do that. Then you watch the game, like, okay, now where is he? Right? I mean, again, if I were them, I'd take a chunk of money and I'd re-sign Hendrickson.
Well, that is now the question, is because he is currently slated to be the guy right behind Hendrickson on the depth chart.
I'd re-sign Henderson. Henderson is the better football player between the two of them. Again, traits.
Yeah.
Ooh, all the draft people. Ooh, he's twitchy. Ooh, I love the twitchy thing. Twitchy. It's my big word. Right? Well, guess what? Okay, I got a video.
Yeah.
I don't see him making tackles.
No.
Okay. What did he have? I think, what did he have? 4.5 sacks?
Something like that. 4.5, 5 sacks.
Like, really? Spending so much time being twitchy, you didn't go to the quarterback.
Yeah. Then 18th is a pick you had predicted. I did not. A guy who apparently can play pretty much every position on the offensive line. Gray Zabel goes to the Seahawks at 18.
From North Dakota State. Again, here's another guy, character-wise. You know darn well that there were bigger programs trying to entice him to, show me the money. And he looked at me and said, nah, I'm going to stay North Dakota State. Well, guess what? He's going to get a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right? He's going to get probably about, right out of the gate, 15 to 17 million in terms of, what his deal is going to be. But he was a guy that a lot of people were like, hey, come on, join us. Hey, we got an NIL. We have a collective.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, I'm going to stay in North Dakota State. I give him a lot of credit.
And something you've mentioned a lot is the idea of being able to play all around the offensive line. He started as left tackle for North Dakota State, and then in the Senior Bowl, he played both guard positions and center. So he gives you versatility to play literally anywhere. So let's say someone else gets hurt and you have a great backup left tackle, he can swap somewhere else.
Even as a rookie, if he doesn't start, he's going to be invaluable. He's going to be all over. And even if he does start as a rookie, if somebody else gets hurt and the backup's better at his spot, then they can move him over.
Then coming in at number 19, the Buccaneers say we need ourselves another receiver. So you now have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Jalen McMillan, and Emeka Egbuka goes 19th overall.
As you know, for a couple of years, I've really sung the praises of Emeka Egbuka. I just think he's a really good receiver, excellent hands, runs really good routes. He's just a real threat. I know that everybody's like Jeremiah Smith. Jeremiah Smith did nothing in the Penn State game. Right? Who did something in the Penn State game? Egbuka did.
Yeah. And he also understands how to play with incredible receivers as well, because he has for multiple years now, where he isn't the best guy, and he didn't leave. He wasn't the number one option. You had guys like Jackson Smith and Jigba. You had Olave. You've got Jeremiah Smith.
And Egbuka, if need be, can return punts.
That he can. Coming in at number 20, a guy who would defend Egbuka is Jahdae Barron. Texas corner goes to the Broncos.
Really good player. Good cover guy. Good speed. Let's slip in the Will Johnson part here right now. Will Johnson was not picked last night.
No, he was not.
The late Gil Brandt, and many refer to him as the godfather of the draft, always had some simple rules. One of the simple rules was this: if a guy won't run a 40 at corner, we're not taking him. Will Johnson did not run a 40.
Yes.
Okay, and that I think has scared some people off about drafting him, because I know he was hurt. He did try to do the shuttle, and I guess his shuttle was very poor.
Yeah.
He did not run the 40, and as Gil Brandt always said, if a corner won't run a 40, we won't take him.
And the rumor on the street that was going around last night, later as the draft kept going on, as he kept slipping, was that teams were more concerned about his knee injury than they let on before the draft. and that it was more concerning. So he has fallen. The question is, where will he fall to? Will someone jump up and say, take a shot at him because he was a first-round talent? How do you value that?
Somebody will take a shot at him, but they will not trade up to get him.
Yes.
It will be if he naturally falls to them. He's a really good cover guy. Really the number one cover guy Michigan had. The injuries are a problem because this isn't the first year he's been hurt.
Yeah.
And again, as Gil Brandt said, when it came time, like not just the combine, but like Michigan's pro day, he didn't run a 40, and he said that teams right away go boom. That right away you get into a concern box.
Yes,
you're not a red box guy. That's off.
So it's an orange
stuff.
Box.
Right?
Would that be the color?
Whatever box you want to pick.
Yeah.
Yellow. How about yellow for caution?
Yellow for caution. Coming in to the black and yellow, the Steelers. The hot gossip was, is this gonna be Shedeur? And they did not do that. They went with the man whose family, I guess, probably doesn't like you after yesterday's conversaons, after us talking.
But again,
yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry.
No, I know.
If people want me to sit here and just be not honest about what I see, that's fine.
Yeah.
Because I don't see every Oregon game. I don't see every Michigan State game. But I certainly see some games on video and then see them live.
And Derek Harmon.
I cannot think of a single play he made against Penn State in the, 4 Derek Harmon games I did. I can't think of a single play he made. Now, now let's just take the stats part. Okay? There's no doubt in watching the video this year, leading into, because he didn't make any plays in the Penn State game. Right? Penn State ran for 220 yards. Yeah. Which play did he make?
I know.
Right? Okay, I'm not kidding here. They shredded that Oregon defense. But when you look at the stats, to get 34 pressures from a tackle position is really impressive. That is Aaron Donald-esque. Okay? So I can understand what the thought process is, especially we talked about the Steelers are an aging football team. Micah Fitzpatrick is not the kid anymore. TJ Watt is not the kid anymore. And Cam Hayward, long past one being, he is the grizzled leadership veteran that every team needs. I mean, it just on the field, off the field, you love Cam Hayward. Harmon being next to him is going to be an incredible benefit to Hayward, and it's going to be an incredible benefit to Harmon. Harmon will benefit by playing next to Hayward. I'm just telling you, I'm looking like Deonte Banks when he was drafted by the Giants from Maryland. Jack Ham and I, we're talking on the phone. After they picked him, I said, was there any point where you and I, when Penn State played Maryland, said, they got to stay away from Banks? After looking at the video, he says, no, we never did. Because we never saw Banks make a single play. Never saw Banks make a play. On video or in person. Okay. Well, guess who's struggling in the NFL right now? Banks. Right? I don't know what to say about Harmon. The stats tell a different story than what my eyes told me. Maybe it's because Penn State just did a better job against him. At Michigan State, he did. I remember when I was getting ready for the Oregon game, I was like, they got Derek Harmon and he's starting? Okay, I'm not being a jerk here. I'm just telling you what my reaction is. And I watched the video and I'm like going, the edge rushers were really good. Right? They had the one linebacker really good. Harmon's name never came up in the pregame show.
No.
It didn't.
So
I'm just telling you what I see. It doesn't mean there's no question I obviously missed something in other games. Because exactly what kind of performance did he have in the Rose Bowl? What kind of performance did he have in the Big Ten championship game? What kind of performance did he have against Ohio State the first time? I don't know. I mean, no offense. I watched the Boise, Oregon tape. Genty ran for 196 yards. Well, Genty's not a pitch to the outside and sweep guy. Where were they running?
Through.
Okay. I give him all the credit in the world for getting himself to this point, and I think being with Dan Lanning and his staff really helped him a lot. And the stats are different than what my eyes say. The 34 pressures, very impressive. Very, not just a little impressive, extremely impressive. But color me not sure on this one.
Well, he goes 21st overall to the Steelers, then 22nd overall. Jim Harbaugh said, we're going ground, we're going pound, Marion Hampton from North Carolina. So
look, that's Jim. Look, Jim Harbaugh, and I give him credit for thinking this way. You have an entire league that is now going with 5 DBs, fewer linebackers, spread out, and he's got a team that's going to like get you in the box, and guess what? You're lighter than they are. And he wants to pound the daylights out of it. Oh, and by the way, he has a quarterback that make it pay off if you try to stack it.
Yeah. They now add Marion Hampton to a backfield that already has Najee Harris.
And Hampton, he's better.
I know.
Hampton's a better player than Harris. Hampton was a really good pick for them. Yeah. Really good pick. It kind of reminds me when his brother took Dobbins.
J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah.
And now coming 23rd overall, announced in the coolest way by Mark Murphy, with the 23rd overall pick, the Packers, for the first time since 2002, selected a wide receiver, Matthew Golden from Texas.
Well, dynamic player. Watch some of the. I watched enough Texas this year. He can make the deep plays. He's a good football player. His family has been through awful times. By being a first-round pick, he now is going to help out a lot of people around him because his family's really struggled. And so I'm thrilled for that. As a player, hey, look, they've got Watson now. They got Reed. Reed was out of Michigan State. I really thought Reed was a terrific player at Michigan State. And then I see him in the NFL, and he's a terrific player in the league. Now you add this guy in, and there's a dynamic for the Packers offensively that I think can actually allow them to move past the Vikings and all this, because the Vikings are going to have to go with essentially a rookie quarterback.
Well, speaking of Vikings, Donovan Jackson goes to Minnesota.
Again,
you had him mocked 25th to the Houston Texans. You were one pick off Donovan Jackson being selected.
Yeah, but Jackson, again, a player at Ohio State I really like. And good offensive lineman. McCarthy's going to need whatever protection they can get him from all spots, including that pressure up the middle part. He'll do a great job, because I know later in the round Simmons got picked as well.
And they now have an offensive line. You've got Christian Darrisaw, left tackle. At left guard is going to be Donovan Jackson. Ryan Kelly at center. And again, Will Fries.
I guess let's give Jackson credit. When they needed him to move out to left tackle when Simmons got hurt,
he can do it.
He really gave a really good account of himself.
So he is now sitting there as a versatile left guard for them. Adds to a good offensive line.
But again, when he had to go to left tackle, which is not where he's slated to play in the NFL, he showed me he could play it. He was a good player.
He has versatility, which is huge. And he now goes to that offensive line. Then they're trying to protect J.J. McCarthy, and that is a pretty good unit to protect him. Then, of course, we get to the 2 traded picks we already discussed. Jackson Dart, 25. James Pierce Jr., 26. Then brings us 27. Malachi Starks goes from Georgia to Baltimore, to the Ravens.
Eric DeCosta. Full disclosure, his daughter Jane took my class in the fall. Eric DeCosta makes a phenomenal pick here. I think Starks. I mean, I'm sitting there watching the Sugar Bowl. Now, how many times did I see Georgia play this year on TV? I mean, I saw them play Texas twice. I saw them play Georgia Tech. I did not see the Alabama game. Well, now I'm watching the Notre Dame game. This guy's a really good player. Starks is a really good player. Now you put him out there with Kyle Hamilton.
Their defensive back room now has Starks at free safety.
But again,
Yeah.
see, Hamilton has a little, to compare. I'm not saying he is, but he's got a little Troy Polamalu in him, that freelancer. Starks will allow Hamilton to really freelance.
Yeah.
And that was a really good pick by Baltimore.
So you now have a defensive back room that has...
I'll say that Baltimore gets the draft.
They do get the draft. They've crushed it. Their defense now sits with Starks at free safety, Hamilton at strong safety, Nate Wiggins and Chidobe Awuzie at cornerbacks, and then at nickelback, Marlon Humphrey. That's a pretty good unit.
I mean, that's, again, in today's league, that's big time, especially when you have to face Joe Burrow twice a year and Mason Rudolph.
Rudolph. And who are the Joe Flacco? Is that the other quarterback? Joe Flacco, Mason Rudolph, and then Joe Burrow. And the quarterback that throws for billions of yards.
Who are the best two quarterbacks in that division?
I wonder. I know who the first one is. Then 28th, the Detroit Lions say, you know what? Defense wins championships.
Tyreek Williams. Okay, so let's go back to Harmon. Okay?
Yeah.
In the last couple of years, you know how many times Jack Ham and I, again, we're watching video to get ready for the games. So it's not just what we see live. We're watching video to get ready for games. And then we'll pick out guys like, hey, what about him? What about him? What about him? Tyreek Williams is a guy we talked about every year. I know Sawyer, who will get picked tonight. JT Tuileumalo, who will get picked tonight. And they're going to, and whomever gets either one of those guys is going to get two winning players. Okay. This guy in the middle, over and over again, we kept talking about what a difference he made for them. Until he got hurt in the Penn State game, he was playing really well. Then, after having a truly mediocre and forgettable game at Oregon, because Oregon's offensive line did a great job that night.
Yeah.
You watch the Rose Bowl, he was in the backfield all the time. Oregon couldn't handle him. Or they couldn't handle any of those guys up front. Any of those guys. Because Jim, you can tell that what Ryan Day did, right? They changed up how they were playing, right? In certain ways, and then Jim Knowles changed up how they played, because the first time Oregon took those two ends and flipped them out, and they took the two tackles and they pushed them out, and that created lanes for Gabriel. Jim changed it all up as to how they were doing it.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody can talk about Larry Johnson. Jim changed it up. Yeah. It's his scheme.
And
right?
Tyler Williams.
When Jim changed it up with, because Williams was part of the payoff to change it up, because he started getting pressure here instead of getting pushed out there, and Gabriel had no lane to throw. Right? And Williams, for Detroit, we knew they'd go defense because they had so many injuries last year. That's a big pick for them.
And for them, he is added to a group that they have a good chunk of with DJ Reader, Aleem McNeil. They just paid a lot of money to. Yeah. So he's not going to be asked to be the only dude in the middle.
Yeah, but
which is again huge.
But again, you rotate guys. Yeah. Okay. Suddenly McNeil's going to be fresher in the fourth quarter because Tyreek Williams there. Williams is a good player. It's a good pick.
He's a good player, and also the idea of freshness is a positive when you had players that were injured all last season. All of a sudden, you had one more body in there who's really good.
Right.
That rotation, it gets scary at the end of games.
Yep.
Then on the other side of the ball, on the tackle side, Josh Connolly Jr. from Oregon goes to the Commanders.
Really
it's a good pick.
Really good pick. You could just see. I thought the Penn State game, he didn't have a great game, but that's because Penn State had better people. I mean, you're going up against Abdul Carter at some point.
Good luck.
Last I checked, he's pretty darn good. Dennis Sutton had a big night as well. But you watch the video of him going into it, and he did some things that really impressed me at tackle. I thought he'd be a first round pick, and he was a first round pick.
First round pick.
Good feet, good balance, good arms. Uses his hands really well. Good player.
And he now gets to protect for Mr. Jaden Daniels, which of course you want to protect him.
But again,
good idea.
You picked Laramie Tunsil. You already picked up
Laramie Tunsil on one side.
You got him on the other side. Okay, you're
set.
You're all set. Again, the Commanders are trying to close the gap on the Eagles, and they've done it through free agency, the draft, both at wide receiver, tackle, and now drafting a tackle.
Yeah. Then cornerback, the Buffalo Bills go with the selection that I had them going with Maxwell Harrison.
You had it, yeah.
Speedy, just good cornerback.
I think I had Starks going there.
You had Starks going there. So
but they go
good pick.
DB, and look, Kentucky's defense was outstanding. So let's get back to Jackson Dart. Right? Kentucky beat Ole Miss this year. Hairston played a great game against them. Not a good game. He played a great game against them. That was a good pick for Buffalo.
He goes 30, 31st.
And again, they picked up White in free agency and brought him back, but he's older now. And I think this guy's going to really help.
He's going to be there for years to come. Then 31, Campbell.
The Eagles pick. That's a great pick for the Eagles.
32, Josh Simmons. Mahomes is going to be happy getting a new tackle at left
Simmons
tackle.
is interesting. Why only 1 year at Ohio State and all the years at San Diego State? Simple. His mom was sick. He's from that area. So he picked San Diego State so he could stay closer to her. Okay. Again, there's always, like, if you take some time to look into some of these people, like Travis Hunter. I mean, how many of you knew he was a 4.0? How many?
Not many.
Okay. How many people thought Travis Hunter was going to get his degree from Colorado? Right. Again, these are perceptions. Well, he's not only getting his degree, but he was a 4.0. Right. Well, same thing with Simmons. And I thought Ohio State won the national championship. And we talked about Jackson moving over to left tackle because Michalski couldn't handle it, to be honest with you. They needed Jackson to go over.
Yeah.
And Simmons is just a really good player. You could just see, because I knew he wasn't going to play in the Penn State game, and I'm watching him on the video of the Oregon game. I'm like, this guy's really good. That's going to be a big loss. So he's there. That wraps up the first round. We have to wrap up a little early today. If you want to pay attention to the second and third rounds, see where guys at the top like Will Johnson, Mike Green, Nick Emmanwori get taken. Okay, KJ Winston. Let's go to where the run's going to be. The run, starting at some point tonight, is going to be running backs.
Yes.
Okay. There are a boatload. There's going to be all this. Everything's going to be centered around one guy.
Yes.
Okay, Shedeur Sanders. We know that. In fact, ESPN's entire draft coverage last night was surrounded around Shedeur Sanders.
I think Bill Kuiper lost $1.5 billion on Shedeur Sanders stock.
Okay, but I'm saying that that's okay. But tonight, the names you brought up, great value. Sitting around two. KJ Winston is going to be a steal for a team at safety. I think Jalen Reed could go third round tonight for Penn State. And tomorrow probably, we'll see Kobe King go tomorrow. And I wouldn't doubt Kobe goes maybe as early as four, maybe five. But KJ Winston's going to be one of the steals of the draft. For teams. That's just a great player. You're going to get great value in round 2 out of him. Jalen Reed, you're going to get great value out of him in round 3. But you mentioned Will Johnson. He's still sitting there. Right? But then you're looking around. I'll give you a running back that I really like. And I know I've talked a lot about Ohio State here. But you know what I've always thought of Travion Henderson.
Oh, yeah. So Henderson's sitting there.
Because Henderson can catch the ball. It's not just he can make a dynamic run. Henderson's got good hands. Now, as a route runner, I'd have to defer to somebody else as a route runner. I mean, because I'm not going to sit there and pretend I know he's running great routes or not. I can do that with Penn State players, right? Because I see them every day as to how they're running routes. But Henderson's just a really good. There's going to be a run on running back starting in the middle of round 2 tonight, and then and there's going to be. Look, there's a bunch of guys that are sitting out there. Eventually, a guy like Jay Higgins is going to be picked by a team. He may be a day 3 guy, the linebacker from Iowa, but he knows how to play.
Yeah. And if you want to stay up to date on what's going on with the draft, as you did during round 1.
And the Steelers have no second-round pick.
No second-rounders. The Saints have pick 40. I'm very excited for that one. Stay up to date with the latest draft knowledge and information over at 7 Mountain Sports on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram.
If Shuck is there, they're going to take him. I'm talking about the Saints.
I know. I think we will. I don't want us to, but we'll find out tonight, and I'll have coverage.
It's a round 2 pick.
I know.
I mean, that's where you've got to be. I know we got to get out of here, but that's a round 2 pick. You already made a really great pick in round 1. Now you can be a little more adventurous in round 2 as to what you want to do if you think this guy is, a guy that eventually can take the job. I mean, and you do have a quarterback-centric coach as your head coach now.
Yeah. We'll find out what goes on tonight with the draft. Pay attention. Social media, 7 Mountain Sports.
Thank you for listening to Sports Talk with Steve Jones, a 7 Mountain Media production. Come back at 11 every weekday for analysis of the latest happening in the sports landscape. From college football to European soccer, Steve and Kyle cover it all on Sports Talk with